in my slide presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So today we'll be looking at introduction to business analysis, right? I know, just as Ahmad said, he's doing something related to engagement or something / business analysis. So you have a pretty much maybe 1 or 2 ideas about business analysis. Same with Michelle. I know you kind of did a bit of research or fact finding to understand some things about this career, and you must have come across business analysis. So I believe there is this slight understanding or expected understanding you must have had about business analysis. So the goal of the class today is to look at business analysis, what business analysis is, what are the core concepts, right? The principles in business analysis, what are the key terminologies, and that is because for every career or for every profession, there are key terminologies you use to show that you are an expert. Just like Michelle being a lawyer, there are key terminologies you use when conversing with your fellow lawyers or when you find yourself in court, talking in court, right? Just like Ahmad being a principal, right? When you're a principal, there are key terminologies you use to address students. I don't think you will call your students customers. You won't address them as customers, right?
Never.
You will address them as students, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a banker will not address customers as students, will address customers as customers, right? So there are key terminologies that for each specific professional career we tend to use to show that we actually have deep understanding and knowledge of that particular terrain. Then we look at something that is very common, or should I say the most common thing in business analysis, which is called requirements. So we look at requirements. How do we classify requirements? How do we categorize requirements in business analysis? And that is because this classification of requirements helps us to understand how to solve problems for businesses. So understanding the different classification of requirements, and then we also look at requirements and design cycle, and finally touch base on software development lifecycle and Scrum methodology. So these are the things we're going to be looking at today. So it's fully packed. With these, the objective is at the end of the class today, the outcome for you should be that you should be able to tell somebody what business analysis is. You should be able to tell somebody who a business analyst is and what a business analyst do in an organization. You should be able to have a better understanding on the fundamental, or should I say the core concepts of business analysis. What are the foundation? What foundation is business analysis built upon? You should be able to understand and communicate such with people. And then finally, being able to understand Scrum methodology and software development life cycle. So we'll start with the question, what is business analysis? Anyone, I'd like both of you to make an attempt. In the class, there is no wrong or right question. What I see is an attempt. So I appreciate people making attempts whenever I ask the question. So from your own understanding, what do you think is business analysis? Anyone can unmute and talk.
Okay. Let me take the lead. To me, business analysis is all about serving as the link between from the technological angle, it is serving as the link between all the stakeholders, which include the organizations, the customers, and the development team. So it's all about gathering, identifying challenges and problems faced by all stakeholders. So converting that into requirements and ensuring that those requirements are converted into solutions that gives value to all the stakeholders.
Okay, thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you so much. How about you, Michelle?
Okay. Business analysis is basically trying to identify or identifying a challenge that a business has or a challenge or a need that might arise. Like the challenge doesn't have to be present immediately. It could be a future challenge, it could be a present challenge. So analyzing the business analysis for me is identifying the need for a change or identifying a challenge that the business already has and profiling a solution for it.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Mitchell. You guys have really said well and said well, and I appreciate the attempts. Business analysis is more like the fulcrum, right, of the entire business, right? Being that link between the business and technology. So you are the link to ensure that everyone understands each other. You are the one that helps to identify problems, identify the need, and go ahead. You don't just stop at identifying the problem. There are people that all their life they're very good at pointing at faults, pointing at problem. Well, you could be a good business analysis that way, but to be a better business analysis, you take a step further from just not just only finding the fault or identifying the problem, but also recommending solutions that could deliver value to stakeholders when trying to solve that problem. So you've both spoken very well, and that is very nice. So let's just have like a formal intellectual definition of business analysis or common understanding of business analysis, because it's better you have the the academic understanding of it. I'm glad that people have the practical or relatable understanding, but it's good to have the academic understanding so you can always know how to relate it to things effectively. So business analysis basically is the practice of enabling change. Enabling change. And when we talk about change, change could mean a lot of things, right? In organizations, change could be an initiative, right? A project. And change could be for a strategic purposes. So assuming Uptrust is focused on Nigerian indigenes, right? Or Nigerians in diaspora. And we are hoping to want to make a strategic move into the UK market to target Nigerian diasporas in the UK who are of employable age, right? So we want to penetrate the UK market. We need to ensure we have a strategic, a proper strategic, for lack of word, a proper strategic idea or proper strategic approach to enter into the UK market. Now, that's decision or that particular effort we want to make to penetrate into the UK market, we can consider that to be a change. And several things could, happen in the course of that change. Another area of change could be probably, as Uptrust is, the Nigerian government comes up with a policy for all professional training institutions. And says that all professional training institutions in Nigeria must have a professional training license before they can deliver services, right? Or conduct trainings to Nigerians or the Nigerian diaspora, for instance, right? So that means for us as a business, we need to change and we need to change some things. So that will be a change. So business analysis is the practice of enabling that change. So we are like change agents. Is it that we identify the change, or when we realize a change needs to occur, we enable the change within an organization, within an enterprise. By first, and which is one of the most important things for change, is understanding and defining the need. Now, the need could be a problem or an opportunity. So when you hear need in business analysis, don't think of it being just a want or to being a problem or an opportunity. Some people restrict or limit their definition of business analysis to just solving problems. Business analysis also includes leveraging opportunities. So by defining and understanding the needs, which you know that needs could be a problem or opportunity, and then recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. Not just about recommending solutions. We need to ensure that we recommend solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. For instance, someone have not been to Canada at all. Maybe the person have never even flown, the person have never even traveled by air or by sea or by land or whatever. And the person meets you, Michelle, and say, "Oh, Michelle, I noticed you're learning business analysis. I want to go to Canada, right? I'm ready to get my papers, but and I've gotten my visa and everything, but I want to go to Canada in less than a day." You wouldn't recommend the person to go by ship. Of course, going by ship is a solution to going to Canada, right? You wouldn't recommend the person to go by land. Of course, going by land could be a possible solution to going to Canada, but it's going to be a longer time. What you're going to recommend to the person is going by air because it's a solution that will deliver value to that particular stakeholder. So in business analysis, when we are recommending solution, we must ensure that the solution we are recommending delivers value to stakeholders. And that is one of the reasons why we are highly sought after by organizations, by businesses, not just because we are able to identify the problem or identify the opportunity or enable the change or understand the needs or recommend a solution. Anybody can recommend a solution, but we need to ensure that whatever solution we are recommending to stakeholders actually delivers value to that stakeholder. Let me give another instance. If someone tell you that I want to get to Canada, and in going to Canada, I want to be able to, visit different countries, see different cultures and nationalities. I don't want to get to Canada in a year, in a day. If it takes me 2 months or 3 months to get to Canada, I'm okay with that. I want to see different cultures, see different people along my way. I want to be able to, see different terrains and landscape. I want to have an adventure on my way to Canada from Nigeria. If you are telling the person to go by air, that is a solution to going to Canada, but it does not deliver value to that stakeholder. If you tell the person to go by sea, is a solution to that customer, but it might not deliver the kind of value the person needs. So the best solution that will deliver value to the customer will be to go by land, because by going through land, he or she will cross different borders and have opportunity to, lodge in different hotels in different countries, meet different people, eat different foods, and all of that. So that basically is why, as business analysts, we need to ensure that whatever solution we are recommending to stakeholders, that they are solutions that will deliver value to them. So business analysis enables an organization or an enterprise to articulate its needs and also to get the rationale or understand the rationale for that change, and to describe and design the solutions that can deliver value to stakeholders within that particular organization. Business analysis can be performed in a wide variety of initiatives. In short, there are initiatives as it relates to business analysis can be categorized into 3. Number 1 is strategic, tactical initiative. Number 2 is strategic initiative, and number 3 is operational initiative. Now, for tactical initiative are basically are more or less like considered initiatives that we do in the IT industry. So any initiative that involves the building or development of a technological component, right, or a technical component, that can be considered to be a tactical initiative. Things like IT business analysis, things like product management, there are initiatives within business analysis that we consider to be tactical initiatives because it involves development or building of something like a software solution, like a technological component, or thereabouts, right? And then we have strategic initiatives or strategic analysis. These are initiatives that don't necessarily, when you are carrying out these initiatives, you're not going to be building a technological component. Rather, you are trying to devise strategy for an organization to scale, for a business to become more profitable, for a business to expand, or for a business to grow, or for a business to mitigate risks, whichever way it could be. And in such initiative, you find yourself doing things like market analysis, you find yourself doing things like business cases, you find yourself doing things like management consulting, like what the guys in BCG, McKinsey and Co, what they do, right? That's a strategic analysis. And then if you find yourself in areas of operational initiatives or operational analysis, you'll be doing, you most likely not be looking for how the business will expand or grow or generate more revenue. Neither will you be thinking of building technological or technical components. But what you're going to be doing is looking at a company or an organization's inherent business process, right? Or inherent processes, and seeing how to optimize those processes by looking at places of redundancy, looking at places that there are waste, looking at places that there are, issues. For instance, a manufacturing, an FMCG business like Unilever, right? You want to do what we call operational analysis for them. You'll be doing things like process improvements. Maybe their supply chain process. You want to see how to improve the time from which the goods from the factory would leave the store and get to the end user, that is the consumer. So you want to see how to improve the supply chain process. You want to see how to improve their manufacturing process from the period with which the raw material arrives the factory and the time it will take to process the raw material to have the finished goods. So you might want to improve that process, that time frame. Those are things we do in operational initiative or operational analysis. And in several cases, you could have a project that you need to do or need to work on as a business analyst that cuts across strategic, tactical, and operational. Sometimes it could be strictly tactical without any strategic or operational bit in it. Sometimes it could just be tactical and operational. Sometimes it could be strategic and tactical. Sometimes it could be strategic and operational. And sometimes it could be operational and tactical. So it all depends. And that is the beauty of business analysis. As long as you are aware of the kind of project you're involved in. If it's the building or development of a technological component, this is a tactical initiative, or it will require you applying tactical business analysis. If it involves improving an existing process without building or developing a technological component, right? Things like what we do in Lean Six Sigma, right? We are not building a technological component. We're only trying to improve a process efficiency, process re-engineering, process improvements. All of those things, we know that we're doing operational analysis. And if it involves us looking for strategic ways to expand our market, increase our increase sales, increase revenue, acquire more market share, all of that would fall under the strategic. They'll fall under the strategic initiative or strategic analysis. So let's look at a typical process, right? The typical process that we follow in business analysis to solve problems. And that is what we consider to be the business analysis processes. So you get a job today, or you find yourself in an organization where you have to start a new initiative, a new project, all from the beginning. In most times, in 9 out of 10 times, what you start with is what we call enterprise analysis. In this enterprise analysis, you are trying to analyze the organization to understand what are the capabilities of the business, what are the business needs, right? What are the technological current technological components of the business. So you are trying to do what we call enterprise analysis. You're trying to know who are the target audience, who are the users or customers of this product we want to build, right? Who are the competitors we have in the market that we need to ensure that our products is quality enough to compete with other products within the market. Then when we do that, we now plan on how to, manage information. Requirements is considered to be information. So for ordinary persons, they can see it as information or as a need or as a request. But we in business analysis, we consider them to be requirements. Other people might consider it to be data, but we consider it to be requirements. So we'll look at how do we manage requirements and how do we plan our activities in business analysis. Then after that, we now go ahead to now gather those requirements. We go ahead to identify. We go ahead to discover those requirements and define these requirements in what we call requirement elicitation, which popularly people call it requirement gathering. So we go ahead to gather requirements. After we finish gathering requirements, the next thing we do is to now analyze those requirements. Those requirements that we have gathered from different sources, from stakeholders. We analyze the requirements based on different analytical metrics or different attributes of requirements that we use to evaluate the correctness of that requirement. And then after analyzing the requirements, we specify and model the requirements. It's in specifying the requirement that you write things like user stories, use case specifications, high-level requirements. And in modeling the requirements, you draw things like process flow diagrams, draw things like use case diagrams, context diagrams. So once you analyze and model your requirements, then you need to communicate and collaborate continuously, constantly with stakeholders to ensure that there's enough clarity, to ensure that there is shared understanding, to ensure that there is proper communication and agreement between stakeholders during the course of that particular initiative. And then when the products or when the solution has been developed, we do what we call solution evaluation, whereby we constantly evaluate the solution to see if it satisfies the objectives or if it satisfies the performance measures that we have initially specified before that solution was implemented. So we continually assess the solution, evaluate the solution to see if it meets potential value or, sorry, if it provides profit to the business. So those are basically the things we do when we are trying to go through the typical business analysis process. And that leads us to the million-dollar question of who is a business analyst. Sometimes whenever I want to answer this question, I'll tell you that a business analyst is seen as a magician by every stakeholder. You are more or less like the magician. Everybody feels like with your wand, you can make all their problems go away just by waving your wand, right? So a business analyst most times considered to be a magician, but basically he or she is someone who is responsible for discovering and analyzing information from a variety of sources. So you need to understand as a business analyst, which is information, you'll be someone that is willing to talk to people because you need to be able to discover, you need to be able to identify, you need to be able to define information. And you get these things from different sources. It could be from people, it could be from documents, it could be from another system, it could even be from a vendor, it could be from internal stakeholders, it could even be from yourself. So you must ensure you identify and discover information. And not just identifying and discovering them. You need to analyze this information, right? Make sense out of the information, right? You analyze this information, then you synthesize it, you convert it, you translate and transform this information from just typical business conversation to technical specifications that if a developer or a software engineer picks it up, they can easily understand what they need to do in order for that project or for that solution to meet business value, right? So that is what we do as business analysts. We discover information, synthesize information, analyze information so that it could make sense and it could add value to stakeholders. Some of the from a high level, the major responsibilities of a business analyst in any organization is one, to understand the problems and goals of that business, right? If you don't know the goals of the business or the problem the business is facing, they may not know how to recommend an effective solution. Also analyzing the needs and solution, devising strategy for the change, driving the change itself. We don't just devise the strategy, you also are involved in driving the change, and you facilitate stakeholder collaboration. And with this diagram I have to the right here, you see someone standing to fix a gap. And that is because in the world of business, there's always this communication gap. There's always this communication gap between business and technology. A business person will tell you from his mind, oh, I want my customers to be able to log in, right? That is what a business person wants. I want customers to be able to log in with their email address and password. Now, a technology person might take that thing on its face value and say, okay, you want to log in with email address and password, and just build something for them to log in with email address and password, and bring it back to the what they call it, to the business person, and business person will tell you that this thing is not working how I want it to work. And business person will say, but you told me that you want to be able to log in. How come you say it's not working how you want it to work? Are they not logging in? Are they not entering their email address? Are they not entering their password? Are they not clicking on the login button? Is the login button not functional? You know, the person begins to worry. And that has been that has been happening for several years before business analysis came into bear, right? So the business analyst came in as a middleman to understand the business, then communicates the needs of the business in a language, in a manner, in a structure that a technical person would understand himself and implement. So if that technical person understands what the business is saying in his own technical language, he can effectively and efficiently build based on that technical specification that you have given him or her. And then once he or she, the technical person, has developed that solution based on the specification you give him or her, you will be rest assured, or the business will be rest assured, that the business need is satisfied. And that is what business analysts have come to do or achieve over the years, ensuring that there's free-flowing communication, there's understanding, and we are saving time for both the business and technology. That takes us to business analysis core concept model. But before we go ahead, I don't know if you have any question based on what business analysis is. Please feel free to ask.
I just want to know if this line of thought of mine is correct. When we talk about identifying needs, the need is not necessarily required to be opportunities. It can also be threats. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. So when it's a threat, it's considered to be a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So it can be either needs comprises both problems and
or opportunity.
Opportunities. Yeah, great. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you're looking at it from the SWOT perspective, right? SWOT is strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats, right? So a strength is an opportunity for us to grow, right? A weakness is a problem a problem that we have that could make us to fail. Same thing with threats. Threats could be a problem that can stop us from growing. So you can look at it from that aspect as well. But the fact is that a need can either be a problem or an opportunity.
Thank you. That's clear.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What I want to ask
Thank you.
is, this slideshow, Shay is going to be in the recording and not just the audio. Like when we want to watch it again,
Yes,
when I want
it
to
will
listen
be.
to it.
Yes, to be there. Yeah,
All right,
it will be
thanks.
there. Everything will be there.
Okay.
You're welcome. You also hear your voice as well as you're asking the question.
Oh, okay then.
All right, cool. All right, let's go ahead. Business analysis core concept model, right? Business analysis core concept model. And as the name goes, core concept model. If you cast your mind back, I know, Michelle, you said you studied law, so I may not really find the best example to give because I don't have a law background, or I'm not an expert in law. I know, Ahmad, you said you were formerly a principal, formerly a teacher. So which subject did you teach to start with when you were teaching? Ahmad, can you hear me?
I taught Arabic language.
Arabic language.
Yes, and after that, I also worked as an academic advisor.
Okay, awesome. So let's see if you can use Arabic language. I want to give an example, right?
Okay.
How important this core concept model in business analysis are. Now, when you want to teach Arabic language to a fresh set of students, what are the fundamental things that any student needs to learn first, which serves as the basis of every other learnings on top of every other learnings that will come in Arabic language?
Yeah, the first thing is to learn the Arabic alphabets, how to pronounce, and how to listen to Arabic. So that's
the
basic.
alphabets and how to
Yes.
pronounce, right? Your syllable
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
rest, your
Just like
dictions.
just like English language.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Now, it means if you don't know how to pronounce or write or interpret the Arabic alphabets, you won't be able to speak, right?
Sure.
So those are like the core concept, the fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
awesome.
yes.
Thank you. And I also know, Mitchell, there are some things in law as well that law 101, things that they are basic. You must know them before you can even be able to articulate a case or solve a problem, right? Now, why I had to digress to give the analogy or answer that question is because I'm trying to help us understand how important core concept model in business analysis is. And that is why whenever you're learning introduction to business analysis, you need to understand the core concept model. This is because everything we do in business analysis revolves around the core concept model in business analysis. Every problem you are solving, if you can't answer that problem or have a question for that problem in line with the core concept model, you would be heading to failure. Or should I say the project will fail, or the idea will fail, or the solution will fail. So let's stick with the solution. The solution will fail. That is because the core concept model helps us to build upon everything and anything we do in business analysis. So it's like a conceptual framework for business analysis. Imagine someone just tells you, give me the secret to business analysis, the secret to excelling in business analysis, the secret to delivering any project in business analysis. The secret is you understanding the core concept in business analysis. It is a framework for business analysis. It encompasses what business analysis is and what it means to those performing business analysis, regardless of whatever industry or project you find yourself, or even your level in the organization. The core concept model in business analysis is composed of 6 terms, 6 items. 6 items make up the core concept in business analysis. It's just like Nigeria, we are today. As a country, there are 36 states and the FCT that make up Nigeria. You can't tell me that you are a Nigerian and you don't belong to a state in Nigeria. Do you understand? You can't claim to be a Nigerian and you do not belong to a state in Nigeria. Then you are not a Nigerian, because these are like the core fabric of what we call Nigeria, right? So the core concepts of business analysis are the framework. They are considered the framework of business analysis. And these items are: 1, change; 2, need; 3, solution; 4, stakeholder; 5, value; and 6, context. You realize that from the definition of business analysis, these things were evident in when I was defining business analysis, because they're the things that make the core of what we call business analysis. Now, let's take a look at these 6 core concepts one after the other. And the truth is that none of these core concepts is more important than the other. They all hold equal significance. Equal significance. You can't start a project if you don't know the change. If tomorrow you get to work and your supervisor or your team lead calls you and say, Michelle, I want you to go to court. There's a case. You want to know what is the case about, right? Give me information about the case. So you need to know what the change is, right? So if you don't know what the change is, you can't start the project. You wouldn't know what to do. So change is important. 2, need. If you don't know why there is why the need exists, you won't know how to provide the right solution to that need. Just like if you are meeting your clients and you want to defend the person in court, you will ask the person question: why did you think this happened? Why did you do this? You want to get to the bottom of you want to get to the root cause of the problem to understand the need, the rationale, the problem, the opportunity, then the solution. If today someone say, okay, Ahmad want to start a project that will help us have a video conferencing, be able to speak to our clients in Netherlands remotely without having to go to Netherlands, right? You need to be able to understand, okay, what are we trying to achieve? What solution are we trying to achieve? Are we trying to achieve a solution of having a video conferencing, or want to achieve a solution of chatting or communicating with stakeholders cross-border, right? Then the fourth one, stakeholders. If someone that a video conferencing tool. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, it was cracking
Yes.
before, but right now it's clear.
Yeah, it's clear now.
Yeah, I noticed. Sorry. As it must be network. It rained here, so network has been a bit I've not been steady for a while. Then we look at the value, right? We look at the stakeholders. Stakeholders basically those involved, the value, which is what we get from it, and the context. I'll explain context in a lot more detail, because context is like a game changer when it comes to business analysis. It's like a game changer. So let's take a look at this one after the other. So first, change. Change itself is the act of transformation in response to a need. So it basically, there is a need, right? And for us to respond to that need, we need to make a change. An example is this. If you wake up in the morning and upon waking up in the morning, you feel this strong hunger that you've never felt in your life before. You are so hungry. Are you going to get up from the bed to go and put something to eat? Or you say, it's too early to eat, let me just lie down on the bed? What will you do?
I will head to the kitchen.
How about you, Michelle? Would you want to stay back and say, no, I don't want to eat unnecessarily?
Yeah.
You are feeling as though you are feeling as hungry as though you've not eaten for 2 years.
Yeah, you will go and get something to eat, of course.
right? So that means you will change your position. You will change where you are from your bed to the kitchen, right? So that
Yeah.
change occurred as a response to the need. That need is what? Hunger. So change is the act of transformation in response to a need. So, for instance, federal governments, let me use Nigeria for instance. What happened to crypto business in Nigeria in 2021, January 2021? Because then I was actively trading crypto before that policy came. In January 2021, or is it January or February or December 2021, CBN came up with a regulation or with a policy that restricts direct transactions between the Naira and crypto assets, which means for every business that is focused on crypto trading in Nigeria must shut down the channel of transaction between Naira and cryptocurrency. And they gave a deadline to that, a very short, strict deadline. If you don't meet that deadline, you'll be penalized. There will be a fine. So every business, such as Patricia, such as Binance, such as Luna, all of them mentioned, they needed to act in transformation of that need. That need is a problem. The problem is being penalized if you're unable to meet the deadline. So they needed to what? Change. So they needed to act in transformation of the need from the regulators in the market they play, which is CBN, right? And need itself, as I've been saying over and over, is a problem or an opportunity that has to be addressed. Needs can cause changes by motivating stakeholders to act. So the hunger caused a change in you by motivating you to act, motivating you to get up from the bed, walk down to the kitchen, put something on fire, even though it's to have a cup of coffee or to take 2 slices of bread. It just motivated you to do something, to act. That is a need. Then solution. Solution is seen as a specific way of satisfying one or more needs in a context. That is a solution. Ways in which we want to satisfy our needs in a context, right? And then stakeholder is anybody or group of persons with relationship to the change, relationship to the need, or relationship to the solution. You can also say is anybody or group of persons that are affected by the change, or that will be affected by the change, or affected by the need, or affected by the solution. This will help you to have a better understanding of who your stakeholders are. So whenever you start a project, you don't need to be worried or scared trying to understand who are my stakeholders, who will I be working with in this project. All you have to ask yourself is, who are the people or persons that will be affected or that have a relationship with this change? The change is a project, or have a relationship with the need, that is a problem, or have a relationship with the solution, that is the specific ways you want to use to satisfy the need. And the next core concept model is value. Value, as we all know, is the worth or importance or usefulness of something to a stakeholder within a context. And I keep saying within a context because I will explain context shortly. The value or the importance or usefulness of something within a context to stakeholders. Just like I gave you guys an example, right? With someone wanting to travel from Nigeria to Canada. If someone walks up to you and say, I want to travel from Nigeria to Canada, you can go ahead and give a straight up easy answer and say, like, go to the airport, get your visa, go by plane. It's easy and comfortable, right? That is it. But if that person gives you a context to that trip, if that person give you a context, like the second example I gave that says, with the context that I want to have fun on my travel, I want to see different countries, I want to see different cultures, I want to meet different people along my way, I want to see different cities and sites along my way, and I don't mind spending 6 months on my journey, but I want to have fun and adventure in my journey, right? That is a context. Because of that context that that person has given to you, you realize that recommending the solution of flying by air will not deliver value to that stakeholder. Therefore, the best solution that will deliver value to that stakeholder will be to go by land. So that is why context changes everything about how we approach business analysis. You need to understand what context are you trying to paint here. Someone comes to meet you, assuming Michelle, you have a furniture business where you make beautiful, gorgeous furnitures for both corporate and residential use, right? And then Ahmad has a school, right? Um, Ahmad has a primary school that he's running. He owns a primary school. And Ahmad comes to your company and say, Michelle, please, I need you to help with um, building desks and chairs for my students. So he uses the word students, for my students to sit upon for their classes. Now, if Ahmad doesn't go further to give you context on those desks and chairs, you might end up building the wrong desks and chairs that might not add value to the students, because that opens rooms for assumption for you as a business. So Michelle could assume desks and chairs for a school for students. Okay, I think maybe probably there are people that are 15 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, or 10 years old. Let me build desks and chairs for them, right? And then after constructing it, when Ahmad comes to come and pick up the desks and chairs, he realizes that this thing will not, it won't fly, it won't work for my pupils, because I basically run a school for pupils within the age of 3 or within the age of 2 to 8. So none of them would actually get value sitting on these chairs. So because of the missing context, the project that you have worked on for maybe for a month or 2 months has failed. It's not of value anymore to whoever that wants to use it. So you have to look for a way to discard or sell it off cheap to whoever comes or might have need of it. Also, on the other hand, if Ahmad comes to you and tell you that he wants you to construct tables and chairs for his students, I did not provide context to you that I'm running a secondary school and my students are of ages 11 to 16, 17, right? If it doesn't provide that context to you, right, in terms of the kind of school he's running, the kind of students he has, you might end up assuming that his students are pupils who are of the ages 2 to 8 or 2 to 10, and you construct tables and chairs in assumption, with the assumption that you have made, and you realize that at the end of the day you have totally made a mistake because you did not get the right context for that particular project. So in all, context is very, very important in business analysis. So as change, need, solution, stakeholder, and value. So while planning or performing a task or technique, as a business analyst, you can consider how each of the core concept model are addressed by asking questions like, what kind of changes are we doing? What are the needs we are trying to satisfy? What are the solutions we are creating or changing? Who are the stakeholders that are involved? What do stakeholders consider to be of value? What are the contexts that we and the solution are involved in? By the time you're able to ask all these questions, you realize that you'll be able to arrive at a proper way to understand the concept model of whatever project you are about to work on. I don't know if you have any question before we move to key terminologies and stakeholders definition.
No question from my side. It is well clear.
Okay, Michelle, if you have any question, you need me to clarify something, just point it out. I'll be happy to do so. All right, thank you. So key terminologies, right? There are several key terminologies, but we'll just look at, I think, about 3 or 4 of them that we have in business analysis. And then stakeholder definition. We'll look at virtually all the stakeholders you're going to be working with as a business analyst in whatever project, irrespective of the project you find yourself. You are going to look at all stakeholders that are involved in whatever project. Some you might not have all the projects, all the stakeholders involved. Some it might just be a few of them involved, but we'll look at every stakeholder so that you know how to identify and categorize your stakeholders. So let's start with key terminologies. Number 1 is business analysis information, which relates to any information that has to do with business analysis or any information that you need to work upon during the course of your job as a business analyst. Things like your elicitation results, your requirement, your solution options, your change strategy, your designs, and what have you. Then we have design as well as a terminology that we use frequently in business analysis. A design is a usable representation of a solution. So in business analysis, whenever we want to talk about the solution, we use the word design. Another one is enterprise, which we all know, like Dangote Enterprise, like Meta, which is an incorporation of Facebook, Instagram, and what have you, is an enterprise, right? The larger body of the organization. Then we have organization, which we also know, different organizations that exist is also a terminology we use. We have plan, which is a proposal for doing or achieving something. We have requirements, which is also the most common terminologies you're going to be using in business analysis, which represents the need. We use requirements to represent the need. Remember, the need could be a problem or opportunity. So we use requirements to represent the need, right? And then we have risk, which speaks to the effects of uncertainty on the value of a change or on the value of a solution or on the value of an enterprise. So in all these things, we collaborate and we work with stakeholders in order for us to identify, assess, and prioritize the risks, and also in turn deal with those risks as they come. Now, stakeholders that we work with. So I'm going to exhaust all the whole stakeholders you would likely be working with in any project. As I said earlier, you might realize that you might realize that not all these stakeholders will be present in a project, and in some cases, all the stakeholders should be present. Like the project what I'm doing currently, my place of work, I have all these stakeholders present in different capacities. So number 1 is business analyst. You can be working with your fellow business analyst in a project. Number 2 is customer. Now, there's always this confusion between a customer and a user or end user. And many people confuse this a lot. And I'm going to clarify or explain to you guys the difference between a customer and a user. Now, a customer is someone that has a contractual or moral obligation or moral rights to use your product and services. That is someone we consider to be a customer. The person might not necessarily pay. There might not be financial implications involved, but the person has a contract with your business, with your organization to use your product and services. That is a customer. While an end user is someone who basically interacts with your product or services, but has no contractual obligation or moral rights. Let me further give you guys an example. So if you open Amazon.com or Jumia.com, right, and you begin to, flip through Amazon one after the other, you realize that, let me show you guys very well. Let me open my browser and show you guys. So let me just type Amazon.com. Right, you can see my web browser, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is Amazon. As it is here, I've not signed in and I don't have an account. So I'm considered a user, an end user of Amazon, because I'm interacting with their solution. I'm interacting with their platform. I can even go ahead to view details of whatever things they have or search for whatever thing I want to buy. Let's say I want to buy, assuming I want to buy a gift for Ahmad. What kind of gift would you like, Ahmad?
I love books.
Ah, okay, books. Should I get an Arabic book for you?
No, you can get me Dare to Lead.
Oh,
Dare
that's
to
very
Lead.
difficult to spell. Let me. Dear what?
DARE, Dare to Lead.
Okay, Dare to Lead. Okay.
Yeah. Brené Brown.
By
Yeah.
Brené Brown. Okay. So assuming I want to get this book for Ahmad, right? Amazon allows me to see the book, see the pricing of the book, even see shipping information. If there's any discounts, I can get to see it. Every information about the item I want to buy, right? Amazon lets me see all of that, isn't it? And I want to buy this book. I click on this to open the book. I'll see, our audio version of this book is free. Yeah, I can get a free audio version of the book, all of that, right? All are available on Amazon. Now, if I want to buy this, I can come here and click on buy with one click, right? And then I click on buy with one click. Now, at this moment, I want to buy. It means I want to use certain services of Amazon that will require me to have a contract with them, right? So they will tell me, please provide your signing information so you can use it, so that I can continue or complete my purchase on Amazon. Because I don't have account, I'll go to create your Amazon account. Now, I'll have to enter my information to create my account. But before I create my account, there's this little information that is here. What does it say?
By creating an account, you agree to Amazon's conditions of use and privacy notice.
Yeah. Now, Michelle is a lawyer here for us. What does this mean, Michelle? Just help interpret it to us in a layman's from your law listening so we can understand. Are we getting into trouble by clicking this?
By clicking
You can go ahead. No, by clicking continue, they told us that once we click continue, that this is going to happen. What does this mean for us?
Yeah, what it means is that whatever terms and conditions that is attached to the website that you've instantly agreed to the terms and conditions and terms of use of the website or the company.
That
so
means we will automatically be under contract with Amazon,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So which means once we create an account, we become a customer of Amazon because we have a contractual rights with Amazon. So that is the difference between a customer and a user. As I'm still an end user of Amazon because I don't have any contract with them yet. So once I create an account, I become their customer. I'm no longer an end user. So that is the differentiating factor between customer and end user. And when you are building a solution, you should be able to understand who is the user, that's who is the end user, and who is the customer. Is that clear?
Genesis, if I may ask here, that means the end user and the customer might be separate entities, while in some cases, the end user and the customer might be one person.
Yes, of course. So once I create an account, I no longer become an end user. I'm now a customer because I have a contract binding with Amazon.
Yeah.
Do you understand? It's just like your
Yeah.
WhatsApp. We all have contracts with Facebook, with Meta. As long as you're a WhatsApp user, we all have contracts with Meta. That's why they can use our data for whatever thing they feel. You can't sue them to court. Because the moment you want to sign up on WhatsApp, maybe you bought a new phone and you put your SIM card, you installed WhatsApp and you want to open it, they'll tell you to agree to terms and conditions. You must. So any website or any application that you are viewing and it tells you to agree to terms and conditions or informs you that once you do this, you accept our terms and conditions, it means they want you to become their customer. And once you're their customer, if you've not taken time to read out those terms that they have spelled out, that means they can use your data or use your information or work with you in those terms that are spelled out in their T's and C's. So those are the difference between a customer and an end user. And many people get it wrong. Do you understand? Many people get it wrong a lot. People will always want to confuse customer with end user or confuse end user with customer. But it's important for you as a business analyst to get it right from the beginning that a customer is someone that has a contractual or moral obligation with the business. While an end user is just someone that interacts with the business, with the solution. They don't have any contractual agreement with us. They just interact with it. So a customer also interacts as well. But the difference is that they have a contractual agreement with us. Exactly. Now, so I've discussed customer and end user. The next stakeholder we also work with is who we call the domain subject matter experts. As the name goes, subject matter experts, right? But there's a D in front of which is domain. So we call them DSME. They are the ones that are experts in the knowledge of what we are trying to build. So let's say, for instance, if you want to build an educational solution for schools, secondary schools to use to deliver e-learning to their students, right? Or to deliver tutorials for their students. Imagine during the pandemic, right? Where there was lockdown and sit at home, right? And schools wanted to open and they were all looking for e-learning solutions, right? If you are to build that e-learning solution afresh, if UpTrust wants to build an e-learning solution, a principal will be considered to be a domain subject matter expert, right? Because they have deep understanding about education, isn't it? They have in-depth knowledge about education. Also, if you want to build an electronic medical record, EMR, for hospitals or medical facilities to use to store patient record and also process patient information, a medical doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist will be considered to be a domain subject matter expert because they have in-depth understanding about clinical processes, right? As well, if you want to build an application that can easily allow anyone to request for a legal service, right? Maybe as I am now, I need legal representation and I don't know how to contact any lawyer or to get to meet any reputable lawyer, right? And I want an app that I could just download and I'll see the list of lawyers in my location with their rating, with their years of experience, with cases they have, worked on, their success rate and all of that. Their pricing as well. If I'm to see that, a lawyer will be in the best position to be a domain subject matter expert because he or she have a deep understanding on legal processes, right? So a domain subject matter expert is considered as a person that has in-depth knowledge of a topic relevant to the business need or the solution scope. This role can be filled by the end user or people who have in-depth knowledge about the solution, like managers, process owners, legal staff, consultants, etc. These are people we call domain subject matter experts. They are not the one building the solution. They are not building it. They just have knowledge on how the solution should work, right? And then on the other hand, we have what we call implementation subject matter experts. These are the ones that are actually building and implementing the solution, right? So they are the ones that have specialized or technical knowledge regarding the implementation of one or more solution components. An example of this person is your software engineer, your solution architect, your database architecturer, administrator, information architect, your usability test analyst, your trainer and change consultants. They are people we consider to be implementation subject matter experts. So using an EMR, electronic medical record, right? Or some people call it HIMS, Health Information Management System. Using that for an example, a medical doctor will be considered, if you want to build such solution for a medical facility, a medical doctor will be considered a domain subject matter expert, while a software engineer will be considered an implementation subject matter expert in that project. They are both subject matter experts, but the medical doctor has in-depth knowledge about medical domain, while the software engineer have in-depth knowledge about technology. The medical director or medical doctor don't know how to write Java or JavaScript or Python or any of these technological programming languages. Also, the software engineer don't know anything about clinical processes. So we need to be able to see how to communicate to this person, translate the information to this, and let that person build and utilize the strengths of everyone within the team. And then another stakeholder that we work with are the ones we call operational support. They're the ones that provide support to our clients, to customers, end users in the course of the project or after the project have gone live. Things like our help desks, our operations analysts, operations officers, release managers, customer success. They are people we consider to be operational support. Then we have our project managers, which we all know. Project managers are those that basically manage the project in terms of the budget, the scope, the schedule, the resources, the quality, and the risks of the project. And then we have regulators. These are also considered to be stakeholders we work with. We can either work with them directly or indirectly, right? They are the ones responsible for defining and enforcing of standards for that particular solution. Examples are government or regulatory bodies or auditors, as the case may be. Then we have sponsors. Sponsors are the one financing the initiative. They're the one meeting the financial needs of that particular initiative, budgetary requirements for that initiative. They're the one providing the finance for that initiative. These are considered the sponsors. Then we have the suppliers. Suppliers can also be considered as vendors or partners, those that are trying to supply us tools or components that we want to use to achieve the solution. And they also have a contractual agreements or obligations with us, because before, let's say for instance, we are building an e-commerce software like Jumia, and we don't have any payment service. We want to and then we contract the likes of maybe PayPal, or we get in touch with PayPal or InterSwitch or Paystack for them to supply us with payments channel or payments gateway for our customers to be able to make payments online, right? Before we do that, we must first sign contract with Paystack or PayPal so that we can go ahead and integrate to their channel and then use their services to facilitate payments on our platform. And then the last stakeholder I'll be looking at are those we call the testers. As the name goes, testers. They are popularly called quality assurance in the industry, right? They are the ones that kind of verify and validate the solution in line with the requirements that we have written. So testers also seek to ensure that the solution meets applicable quality standard and that the risk of defects or failures is understood and minimized. So that takes us to the classification of requirements. I don't know if you have any question, or you want me to recall on something or repeat something that I have said?
It's very clear
No
to me.
question. Yeah.
No question.
Sorry, Mitchell, did you say you have question?
No, I don't.
Okay. Now, requirement classification, how we classify requirements, right? It's just like when we say, I think it was in secondary school where we learned classes of living things, right? So this is classification of requirements. Requirement is classified into 4 categories. Number 1 is business requirements. So requirement always starts from the business level, right? Because we want to ensure that the solution that we want to build actually meets a business need, right? If it doesn't meet a business need, that means it's not going to be bringing, it won't bring dollars or naira or kobo to the business. Nobody wants to spend money and not make money. So we want to understand the business requirements. So every requirement you will be gathering or identifying or discovering, first of all, you must start from the business level. What are the business objectives? What are the business goals, right? What should be the business outcome for this initiative, for this change? So business requirements, then we go down to stakeholder requirements. Stakeholder requirements in terms of what are the stakeholder needs? What are the needs of the stakeholders? Remember, I've talked about all the different stakeholders. So what are the needs of the domain subject matter experts? What are the needs of the regulators? What are the needs of the customers and end users? What are the needs of the implementation subject matter experts? What are the needs of every stakeholders that are involved or affected by that particular change or initiative we want to embark on? And then we look at the next one, which is the solution requirements. Solution requirement basically describes the capabilities and qualities of that particular solution is to meet the stakeholder requirements. And it is further subdivided into functional requirements and non-functional requirements. The solution requirement is further categorized into functional and non-functional requirements. For functional requirements, we are focused on capabilities of the solution, that is the functions of the solution. While non-functional requirements, we are focused on the quality of service conditions for that particular solution to perform optimally. Then the last type of classification of requirements is transition requirements. Transition requirement describes the capabilities that the solution must have and the condition the solution must meet to facilitate a transition from the current to the future state. So whenever we are building a solution, we always have what we call user manual. We also have things we call test cases that we use to test the solution, that we also use to train people on how to use the solution. It's just like for every electronic products you buy out there or device you buy out there, there's always a manual that comes with it. It's a training manual. That is an example of a transition requirements, a transition requirements document, TRD. So that training manual, you agree with me that if that is a new device that you are buying, let's say for instance, the very first time you are buying a smart TV and you don't know, you've never bought it before, you never used it before. You just went into an LG or Samsung shop and you want to buy TV. Maybe you felt like, oh, this TV, I bought it 15 years ago or 10 years ago. I want to just change to something trending, right? And when you get there, the assistant or the sales assistant tells you, oh, there's this new trendy TVs. They're called smart TVs. You say, oh, really? Smart TVs? What do they do? Are they intelligent? You say, oh, they'll say, not really. That let's explain to you. You're able to, download and install softwares in it. You can watch Netflix, do a lot of things with it. It is intuitive, blah, 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 blah. So, okay, that's interesting. How much is it? Tell you the price. You bring out your card, you swipe. Maybe you buy 65 inches, 55 inches, and whatever one that catches your fantasy. Now you get home. You agree with me that when you get home, you are going to basically understudy the manual for about some days or a week tops to understand how to use the controls and how to utilize the full capacity of that smart TV. And you also agree with me that even after you also agree with me that after you must have gotten used to how to control the TV using the remote effectively, and you know how to navigate to different areas and aspects and components and functions of the smart TV, you no longer need the training manual anymore. You can even discard it. It's no longer useful. And that is because a training manual is considered to be a transition requirements document. It's something that should help transit customers or users from being a novice of the solution to having an in-depth knowledge of the solution. That's why we call them transition requirements. And then that takes us to software development lifecycle. For software development lifecycle, as the name goes, it's popularly called SDLC. Software for S, D for development, F for L, C for cycle. So software development life cycle. Sorry, someone says something. I see there's some mic interference. Is there any question or you want to make a comment? Okay. So software development lifecycle has 6 stages. Number 1 is, oh, someone's mic is on. Okay, I think it's Ahmad. Let me mute it. That. Yeah, so software development lifecycle have 6 stages or 6 phases rather. Number 1 is planning. Number 2 is analysis. Number 3 is design. Number 4 is implementation. Number 5 is testing and integration. And number 6 is maintenance. Every software that is built on the face of the earth today must go through this life cycle. That's why it's a very important and critical knowledge you need to have if you are to work in an IT company. Software development life cycle. You must ensure that you are able to understand the different phases that a software solution goes through. First, planning. Second, analysis. 3, design. 4, implementation. 5, testing and integration. And 6, maintenance. The second one, which is analysis, is where the majority of the business analysis work is done, because that is our responsibility majorly. Like, we are 100% responsible for the analysis aspect of every software project. So the implementation, the developer is 100% responsible for the implementation. For the testing and integration, the software tester and the DevOps engineers are 100% responsible. Then for maintenance, the support, customer success, network support staffs are 100% responsible. The planning, the project manager is 100% responsible. The design, the product designer or UI UX designer is 100% responsible. Now, for the fact that all these team members are 100% responsible for each of these different phases, that doesn't mean that they don't have 1 or 2 things to contribute in each of these phases. Because it's a team and the team is dynamic, so every member of the team have something to add or contribute in each of these phases of the software development lifecycle. So let's look at a business analyst responsibility in each of these phases, or your contribution in each of these phases of the software development lifecycle. On the planning phase, as a BA, you are working hand in hand with the project manager to ensure that there is a proper planning and a proper way to estimate work and timelines for the project. You also go ahead in planning your business analysis activity and eliciting requirements for the project. And then in the analysis phase, which is solely your own responsibility as the business analyst, this is where you analyze the requirements, you specify the requirements, and you model the requirements that the developers will use to start building a solution. In the design phase, this is solely the responsibility of a product designer or UI UX designer. But as a BA, you can assist them in defining the design options. You can review the designs they make, tell them, okay, this design you're making is not in line or does not satisfy the requirements that I have written out in my documentation as a business analyst. And in some cases, if there are no software, if there are no product designers or UI UX designers, you might deputize as a designer for the team. The fourth phase, which is implementation, at this stage, you are working closely with the engineering team to provide clarity on the components and context of the requirements and also the designs to ensure that they are specifically captured and also implemented, effectively implemented by the engineering team. In the testing phase and integration phase, you work with the testers to spec out and write out the acceptance criteria that they are going to use. You can also assist them in generating things like test plan or test cases if you have that idea. Then the maintenance phase, you are performing solution evaluation to ensure that the solution is providing the required value to stakeholders prior to the retirement of the solution. And then the last section we'll be looking at today is Scrum methodology. Scrum methodology. But before I go into Scrum, just one final time, is there any question on SDLC? A lot of interview they will certainly ask you about SDLC when you go for interviews. They'll ask you, do you know SDLC? You say yes. They'll say, okay, what are the different phases in SDLC? Once you finish spelling out the different phases or telling them the different phases in SDLC, they'll tell you, okay, as a business analyst, what do you do in each of these phases of SDLC? Which one is your major responsibility? And tell us how you help other team members in the course of the project during SDLC. So it's always an interesting topic. It's always an interesting topic, and you'll be asked most times, like if you attend 10 interviews, I can assure you that almost 8 or 7 of them will ask you about SDLC. So do you have any question, or do you want me to go over it again?
No questions.
Or probably the recording is available and you can listen to it again.
Yes.
All right. How about you, Ahmad?
Exactly. I had the experience yesterday when I did an interview.
Oh, they asked you about SDLC.
Exactly.
Ah, you see? So I'm
yes,
a prophet.
I've learned about it, so I was able to do justice to the topic.
You see? So I'm a prophet.
Wow.
So they will always want to ask you about SDLC, right? Especially if you are applying for an IT role, a business analysis role in IT company. They want to ask you, do you know software development life cycle? And it's very interesting, right? They want you to talk them through it, what you can do, what you do, how you help other team members in the situation of SDLC. Okay. All right. So Scrum methodology. Scrum is another subject or topic they're going to ask you. Question they're going to ask you in interviews, because they want to know if you have an idea of Scrum or Agile, right? Have you worked in an Agile environment? Have you worked in a Scrum environment? They even put it in job descriptions there. Knowledge of Agile or Waterfall or Scrum. To put it out there in your job descriptions. So it's something that is interesting for you to actually know. It might not be part of a business analysis training, but these are things that you need to know as a BA that you should be able to talk about as BA, because when you get into projects, especially IT projects, nobody will want to be teaching you Scrum or SDLC. You should know them as a BA. So for Scrum is basically a framework within which people can address complex adaptive problems while productively and creatively delivering products of the highest possible value. Scrum is lightweight and it's easy to understand. Scrum is a methodology that emanates from the agile processes or agile framework, which relates to building products in bits and bobs and being as flexible to change, right? While ensuring that there is communication and collaboration between stakeholders, even ensuring that customers or end users are able to interact with a component of the product early enough instead of waiting till the end of the project before they can interact with a component or part of the product. Scrum consists of 3 teams. 1 is the product owner, 2 is the Scrum Master, and 3 is the technical team. Scrum events there are basically 5 Scrum events. Other people call it Scrum rituals. Number 1 is the sprint planning. The sprint planning is an event that happens before we start a sprint. A sprint is considered to be a period of 1 to 4 weeks. Some people do sprints for 1 week. Other people do sprints for 2 weeks. Some other guys do sprints for 3 weeks. Some do sprints for 4 weeks. The maximum timeline for sprints is 4 weeks, while the minimum is 1 week. But the average, or should I say the common time frame that people do sprints is 2 weeks. So virtually everywhere, people do 2 weeks. It's very rare that you see other people do 3 weeks, some do 4 weeks, and some do 1 week. But the most common time frame for Scrum, for sprint is 2 weeks. Now, that 2-week sprint is considered as a period of time that the team has committed themselves to delivering a piece of work. So let's assume we want to build an e-commerce platform like Amazon, and then we'll be able to break down the different components of Amazon to the home page, which is when you type www.amazon.com, what people will see first, which is the landing page or the home page. Then the account creation page, the sign-in page, the cart page where you move items to cart, the the inventory or categories page, the cash out page, the payments gateway page, all of those things, right? So you'll be able to categorize all this or identify the different components of the e-commerce software, right? Now, in the first sprint, we said we want to build the home page in our first sprint, right? That home page we want to build in sprint 1. So that means in a period of 2 weeks, we want to be able to complete the home page for Amazon. So at the end of the 2 weeks, the Scrum team should be able to show us a value of what they've been able to do for that 2 weeks. That means you're able to show us the home page, a working home page for Amazon, right? So the first, before the beginning of the sprint, we have what we call sprint planning, where we plan everything we need to do for the sprint, break down all the user stories into tasks, and then we start the sprints. Now, every day we have what we call daily Scrum or daily stand-up, right? Daily Scrum or daily stand-up. In our daily stand-up is usually a period of 15 minutes. It's not more than 15 minutes, maximum 15 minutes, where every member of the Scrum team gives an update on what they did yesterday, what they will be doing today, and if there was any obstacle on their way to delivering their tasks. So in your daily stand-up or daily Scrum, you give an update on what you did yesterday, what you'll be doing today, and if you have any obstacle or hindrance in delivering your tasks. that is what you do in your daily Scrum. It's a 15 minutes meeting that happens every day during the sprints. At the end of the sprints, we have what we call sprint review. Sprint review, more or less like reviewing what we've done. So the team would demo what they've been able to build in that sprint to the rest of the stakeholders, and stakeholders will review or see the demo and provide feedback. Now, at the end of the sprint review, the next meeting or events that will occur, which happens the same day as the sprint review, is what we call sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective meeting is where all team members of the Scrum team would come together and ask themselves 3 questions. 1, what did you do well in this sprint? That's what went well in this sprint. 2, what didn't go well, or what didn't we do well in this sprint? And 3, what can we do better in the next sprint? So these are the 3 questions that every team member would need to ask and also answer during a sprint retrospective session. Another name for sprint retrospective session is lessons learned session. So these are the 5 Scrum events that take place during a that happens in a Scrum team. Now, this is a let me walk you guys through what I've been saying for the past 5-10 minutes, a visual representation of it. So here is a product owner who manages the product backlog. The product owner can also be considered to be the product manager. So the person prioritizes the product backlog, which are basically user stories. The product backlog are user stories. Prioritizes the user stories on their order of priority. The one with highest priority will be at the top. The one with the second highest will be second, and all of that. Now, after prioritizing the requirement or product backlog, the Scrum team would now select the items, that is the user stories or product items that are considered to be highest priority, and have a sprint planning meeting. The essence of the sprint planning meeting is to break down those highest priority items that they want to build for that 2 weeks period into different tasks. So they break them down into different tasks, right? And those tasks will form what we call the sprint backlog, right? Now, once they break them down into the sprint backlog, the sprint will now start, which is a period of 1 to 4 weeks. Could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 1 week, right? And as the sprint starts, the Scrum Master is the one that manages the sprints. He or she is like the project manager for that sprint. So he or she is the one that will conduct the daily Scrum, facilitate the daily Scrum, where every team member would provide updates on their work on a daily basis for 15 minutes. The Scrum Master will also develop charts like Bundan charts and all of the rest. Scrum Master will also help in removing roadblocks or hindrances along the way of the team members. At the end of the sprint, that's the end of the 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 week or 4 weeks, depending on whatever time frame the Scrum team chooses, we'll have a finished work, right? That we can demo, we can show to the entire stakeholders. Then we have the sprint review where we demo what we've done, and then the sprint retrospective meeting where we discuss what went well, what didn't go well, and what can we do better. So that brings us to the end of the class for today. I don't know if you have any question.
Not really. I just want some form of clarification. If one is starting out in the tech industry, is it advisable to focus on becoming product owner as a BA?